You and me both, bro. I worked all night last night.
Yeah.
Got up this morning, took the kids to school,
Yeah.
went to the gym, ran errands.
Hey, speaking of gym, did you use that little workout regimen that
I didn't use it today because I didn't want to get in there on no new shit today. I was in a limited amount of time, so I went in there and did the things that I normally do. Tried to get in, tried to get out. But I was very excited to come here tonight because this thing is just rolling, and all right, well, fuck you too. She got fatty on her. Loving that fatty coo. I don't know what's up with these white girls, man, but they be having them sister booties up in here.
Yo, speaking of white girls, man, and just being part of the culture, there's a movie coming out. Is it called Fat Patty or something like that, where it has a fat girl as a rapper?
I have no idea.
You have no idea? You haven't paid attention to that?
Nah.
Okay. Well, I'll be able to fill you in on the details later. But yeah, there's another movie coming out. I think this weekend, or next weekend sometime. About this big old white girl. You know, apparently she's very poor, obviously.
Does it have Rebel Wilson in it?
I'm not good with names.
Is it that blonde, heavyset girl?
Yeah.
The funny one?
From like Bridesmaids and all that joint?
Bridesmaids and Pitch Perfect?
Nah, not her.
Oh, okay.
Nah, it's a different white girl.
Oh, it's a new person.
Yeah, it's different.
Some new blood up in the mix. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, and I'm saying when I say you, I'm also including the listeners too. So let me just tell you what's been going on behind the scenes with this thing called The Verdict. So aside from being on SoundCloud, which is where we started, we're also on the TuneIn app, which TuneIn comes preloaded on Sonos speaker systems. So people purchase their Sonos speakers, there's a chance that, if they're flipping through the software and the programs on their device, that they would stumble across The Verdict. However, if they wanted to specifically listen to The Verdict, they could through, and listening to it in every room that they have the Sonos speaker set up in. And I'm sure it sounds great. So if you have Sonos, listen to us on the TuneIn app. Tell us how it sounds. Aside from that, we're also on Google Play now. So if you have Android, you have access to, which I don't either. But if you do have Android, if you're into that kind of thing, then, you have access to the podcast section in the Google Play Music. And I just got an email yesterday that The Verdict is now also on iHeartRadio.
Oh,
right. So in all those apps, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio, you can download on your Android, your Apple, or your Windows mobile device. So several different ways. Obviously, there's a few different ways that, we could be, broadcasting, but we're not there yet. I'm determined to have it on as many platforms as possible before iTunes. That's going to be...
iTunes is going to be like, we had to have a party for that one, the iTunes one.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. Basically, I want to have several small live event to celebrate going on iTunes.
Right.
We'll already be on all these other platforms too, but we'll celebrate, crossing all those names off the list. iTunes is going to be the last. So once we get there, then we're on every other platform that we could possibly have been on.
Exactly.
So, we're growing, we're continuing to grow.
Yeah.
Tonight, we're going to, immediately after The Verdict, we're going to film, a companion segment after The Verdict, where we'll get into some other topics and kind of, get more into, a laid-back approach. I think that'll be cool. That will be premiering on YouTube and Roku Monday. If I could get it out sooner, then maybe I will. But definitely by Monday, we'll be on YouTube and we'll also be on Roku. You can, watch us. And those contents will be different. So if you're listening to the show and you're thinking like, oh, I'm not going to watch these niggas, like, well, the content's different. It's different content, you know. Same people, but different content.
Different stuff.
I've also got another segment that's going to debut next week, too. It's like more of a financial segment. You remember Jabari?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to do like a financial segment that's it's going to accompany, so a lot of content's coming. It's coming soon. So
Hey.
once we start having these live events, we'll have a lot to celebrate. We'll have a lot to, talk about, and we'll have a lot going on.
Right.
And that was kind of my vision from the start. Like when I started And Friends, none of that was going on.
Right.
So, and as I found out how to do X, Y, and Z, I was like, it would have been better if I was more strategic about when I did this, how I went about doing that. So, when I took a hiatus, these were the things I was thinking about. I mean, getting the content, getting this stuff, this is the easy part. But,
it's the behind the scenes stuff that you gotta do.
How it's packaged, how it's presented,
Right.
and how it's received by the people. That's what I've been focusing on, and how I'm trying. That's where my mind is at. So, big things. I know on TuneIn, I'm not sure about any other platform, but I know on TuneIn they already got the pre-rolls and the mid-rolls in there.
Okay.
So, people start listening to that enough times, then it's,
We on our way,
cha-ching,
man.
cha-ching,
Hey,
so.
I'm ready for that.
Yeah, so listen to us on TuneIn, man, as many
Definitely.
times as you want. SoundCloud, just binge. Just
binge and listen. Listen.
Yeah, just binge listen to all of them
Right.
on all the platforms. And just let us know which one's your favorite, which ones you use, which ones you don't use.
Right.
Um,
And give us feedback, like, comment, share, all that good stuff.
please like, share, comment, rate, review, subscribe on all those aforementioned sites. So last night, I was telling you, I went to a networking event. I don't even remember like what it was called or who were the people behind it. But when I would say that there was, I'm real bad at guessing how many. But if it were up to me, I'd say mid to low 200. There's at least 200 people.
200 people is a little under a high school graduating class, so that's a good amount of people.
It was a good amount of people in there.
That's a good amount.
It was a good amount,
200.
and it was weird because it was like playing double dutch with the conversation. Like Crystal and I went, and initially I'm thinking like, damn, how are we going? I've never worked a room with Crystal before. First of all, I haven't worked a professional room in a very long time, so we ended up split up for a while and worked the room separately, and we were just jumping into conversations, and of course everybody was there to meet people, so nobody had the stank attitude. It was
Excuse me?
right. It was wild just approaching whoever you wanted to talk to them and just say some shit,
Right.
and then they just say some shit back. It was really good, and it got me thinking, man. Like I've been to so many of these events in Charlotte by people I know, and it never has this type of turnout. It never has this kind of success. It never takes off, and I just wonder why. Like, what are the people in that city doing differently? Like, how can these strangers come together, meet with a common goal and a common mentality, but you got these, individuals, and a lot of these things that, events that I go to in Charlotte, they're minority hosted, I think that a lot of, like, especially like in Charlotte, like a lot of thought and effort and energy goes into making sure whose event it is.
Right.
Like, it's my event, I'm the big dog, da-da-da-da-da. Whereas, the event last night, I don't know who. Like, I don't know who was the person throwing it. I don't know who was in charge. Everybody was just there chilling.
Just as far as the people that you met, what would you say was the most interesting conversation that you had with one of those people?
Well, I would say there was a gentleman, I think his name was Michael something or other. He writes science fiction. A lot of people in the room were healthcare, real estate.
Okay.
So stuff like that, which is not my avenue. We can still talk because a lot of them also had avenues on the side. But I was looking for more left-brained individuals.
Right.
And I could tell that he had on a Hawaiian shirt, first of all. So I already knew what time it was with this dude. Like, I know you're not punching the clock nowhere. Like,
he's chilling somewhere.
Yeah, you're chilling.
Yeah.
And I approached him and I was just like, hey, that's a cool shirt. And he was like, yeah, you said the same thing about my shirt as well.
Do you have a Hawaiian shirt too?
I did. I had on this nice ass shirt I got from Men's Warehouse.
Okay.
So yeah, I was definitely out there looking good, dressed to impress.
Okay.
I didn't have my business cards. I just got some business cards made at actually I had them made yesterday, the same day at Staples, but they weren't ready in time. So I was kind of out there freeballing it, but I got a lot of information. I ended up getting my business cards today. So I'll be prepared for the
Pass
next
them
one.
out, pass them
Right,
out, pass them
right.
out.
And I got $250 for $10.
Oh, that ain't bad at all.
That ain't bad at all. And it's the same day turn. If I had ordered them earlier in the day, I might have had got to them. They would have been ready sooner. But it was, it was $10, 200 plus gift business cards.
Yeah. So what did Mike?
Well, he has a book that's or a series that's published locally, as well as nationally. It's also on Kindle, Amazon,
Right.
All the places you can buy and read books. And he told me about a mini con that is going on. It's basically like a super con, but it's on a much smaller scale. So they have it twice a year instead of once. The attendance is probably like in the hundreds to low thousands. So it's very, very small. But he told me that it's a great place for people who can draw but don't write, and people who can write but not draw. A lot of times, they can meet at an event like this, come together.
So pretty much collaboration.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a lot of collaborations going down. He gave me the information about it. I told him that I had, some animated series that I was working on. He was very interested. He's very genuine. Everybody there was very genuine.
That's perfect.
Yeah, everybody there was very, very genuine. White men were there, and they were cool.
We need our brothers to show up a little bit more, but it's all good. Yeah.
No, they were there. Yeah. They were there, and every time we greeted each other, black people.
Yeah, that's everywhere though.
Like
even when you travel like to another city or something like that, that's predominantly white, or just that specific area where it's predominantly white. You see that one brother, you like give him the heads up, like, yo, what's up, bro? I see you.
And especially in this environment when we're all there solely for the purpose of networking, meeting each other, and increasing our network.
Right.
So it was a lot of interesting individuals, but I thought, like, dang, this has been tried so many times.
Right.
In Charlotte, why is a city like that? It's growing very fast.
Definitely.
A lot of things are happening in that city, but it still seems like bogged down by this crab mentality, crabs in a bucket, or me. What kind of experiences have you had, like, in the city, like going to events or even hosting events or anything like that?
As far as going to events, when it's dealing with networking, I've had the same experiences where people were very humble, very genuine, open to speak, and there weren't too many personalities that clashed.
In Charlotte, this is?
In Charlotte, just as far as going to a networking area. But as far as this like social event trying to network, I've had mixed reviews as far as that. A lot of people who are, entrepreneurs and trying to do their own thing. As far as collaboration, if they don't know you already, it's really hard to collaborate with them because you have to go through that trust, that 12 steps of trust, I guess, if you will. It hasn't really been very beneficial just from what I've seen going to social events. But at the same time, though, I've only been to a couple. I haven't been to that many. I've only been to, because I'm only, I'm an introvert, so I kind of stay to myself regardless. So trying to get myself out there and trying to meet other people. If I don't know you already, it's gonna be hard for me to try to open up to you. But I am willing to listen. I am willing to meet up and have multiple meetings if you are about business. I've always tried to surround myself around business individuals. If in that particular section, if I'm dealing with music, try to surround myself, like I said in the last episode, I try to surround myself around other people who are doing music, and those are people who are already met along the way, whether it was school, whether it was at a party that I met, me going out to a social event and meeting up with people, met nice people, but after I get their business card or after I exchange my business card with theirs, little to no traction afterwards, just in some areas. But
in situations like that, you gotta, depending on what you want from that business relationship, you gotta take the initiative if you want to,
definitely.
If you want something to occur.
Right.
But I gotta say that so many times I've dealt with people who are more interested in self-preservation than any type of networking or collaboration or community success, in any way, shape, or form. And I understand that you're going to get that. I was so exposed to that I felt like that was the norm. So anything outside of that, I'm now like, damn, niggas can really get this money together and can really work and collaborate together if people are willing to put their egos aside, if people are willing to listen and work together, which I mean, I don't know how feasible that is, but
When you're working with strangers, is that first stage where it's like, all right, forming, and then it's the second stage, which is storming. So you're getting out all the egos and all that good stuff. I forget what the third stage is. We learned about this in officer school, but the third stage is pretty much trying to pick up the pieces after you go through your storming phase where everyone's clashing, and then your fourth stage is performing, where you guys have got everything out, you hashed everything out, you guys have your eyes set on the prize, you guys have more of a collaborative sense just within the group, and then you start to make things happen, you start to perform well, you start to really see the bigger picture, and you have your eyes set on a goal. That goal starts to become more attainable. So there's steps to the process. Of course, the forming and the storming are the two hardest parts whenever you're trying to collaborate as a group. So that's just something that I've learned just in officer school, and bringing groups together to reach a common goal.
do you prefer to work in groups or work alone?
Depends on the project. If it's something that I know I can do well by myself, I don't want to work with anyone else, because I feel that once someone begins to slack, it's like I don't even want to be in a group anymore. I just want to do this by myself because I know I can get this done. Because I know if someone begins to slack, I start to question just their effort and their ambition. And I'm trying to work on that just in general with people. But once I start to see you slack that one time, it's like, okay, will this happen again? Will this person slack it again? Is this a pattern that I need to be aware of? So but it depends on the project. If it's something that if I'm not a subject matter expert to it, of course I would love to work in a group environment. If everyone has something to bring to the table, and I'm a subject matter expert in one area, someone else is in a subject matter expert in another area, and we need all these subject matter experts for this particular goal that we're trying to achieve, then of course a group setting would be more appropriate.
Okay. Usually I usually like to work alone, regardless if it's a group or regardless if it's something that I'm familiar with, not familiar with. I usually like to just work alone. At least if I'm alone, I can figure it out at my own pace.
Okay. Do you ever reach out for a mentor? Because having a mentor, I've seen having a mentor has always benefited someone who is new to the game, someone who would at least guide them, but won't actually direct them on certain situations, or pretty much just have tasks that you have to fulfill, and then they'll kind of guide you to where you need to be.
I think that would help me out a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
However, every time I get into these situations, they want to be my father.
A mentor is...
The mentor's not my father. The mentor is not my father.
So I see they start demanding and be like, you need to listen to me. They start becoming more demanding, I guess. Or they try to tell you, listen, I'm your mentor. You need to listen to me. They become more demanding, more controlling.
No, not even that.
What do you mean your father then?
Worse than that. This relationship turns into, it leaves this teacher-student, and the line is all blurred, and you start wanting favors and wanting to hang out and wanting to do this,
What's wrong with hanging out? I don't see nothing.
Fuck that.
No?
Fuck that.
But it's your mentor. I mean, what if he just wants to hang out?
I don't want to hang out with my mentor.
So you're strictly business.
I'm definitely strictly business, especially if it's somebody that I'm learning from. If we're doing something productive, and then in the middle it's like, hey, you want to go get a brew? You want to go get a a bite to eat? Yeah. Those are things that come with the territory. But don't call my phone wanting to chit chat. Hey, did you see so and so? No, I didn't see so and so. I didn't see nothing. Never, bro. All I'm trying to hear is this money. I don't get it, man. I don't know. I'm not with all that.
I've never met a mentor that.
Are your mentors usually black?
Yep.
Yeah. See, with an older black man, it never fails. They always want to be my dad.
How old are they though?
They're 50s up.
That's a little different. See, my mentor, I kept him, pretty young. My mentor is actually my mentor here in Raleigh is around 30. No, he actually just turned 40. My bad, Aunt. But yeah, he just turned 40. So we actually have something in common.
Right,
you know?
right.
So it depends on. I guess it depends on that gap, that age gap. Because if you really can't relate to the person, you're not gonna want to hang out with the guy.
Not at all. Not at all. But see, here's the thing though, is that usually if it's a person who's my age or just a little bit older,
Mm-hmm.
what can you tell me about anything? You can't tell me nothing. Not really. You know, you can tell me about a couple of things, but like usually, like, you know, these people I'm referring to, they're, you know, like some type of, you know, owner. They're very successful. They're this, they're that. You know, they're an older, you know, individual, and you know, I'm like, hey, you know, I want to learn from your years of experience. You've got a lot of years of experience. You got a lot of wisdom. And you know, I'd like to learn, but it's just like as soon as, you know, I extend that hand, extend that offer, it's like, you know, like yo, dude, I had this one dude, bro. He was calling me like 4 and 5 times in a fucking day.
Oh no,
Coming by the job where I was working at, like, hey, you know, what's going on, young blood? Da, 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 da. I'm like, yo, I'm like, bruh, we not family, we're not cool.
Gotta set boundaries.
I'm not your friend. You know, so it just, I don't know. So that's why usually I just shy away. I usually like to just learn things on my own.
You messing with some lonely people, man.
Where they be lonely. They be lonely.
Because they're not just coming over your job and calling you 4 times a day, like, because they just need to, like, give you some information. They're lonely. Like, they don't have anyone else to hang out with.
Right.
Because, you know, this person, this young blood just came out of nowhere. You know, now he wants mentorship, so you know he's gonna try to be a big brother or a father figure to you.
No, I don't
and
want
try to exist in your everyday life.
You're lonely? Get a cat. They live 13 years, then you get another one, and another one after that. Then you're done.
I see what you're saying.
I
see what you're saying.
And I definitely don't want. I don't want.
But even I mean, even my father. I don't speak to my father every day. You know, at least he'll text me. My dad would text. I'm so bad at like keeping up with my parents. But you know, my dad would text me. You know, just checking in. That's it.
That's your dad though. Like that's
the father.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he can do whatever he wants or not do whatever he wants.
So
like,
pretty much, if you ain't family, don't be calling me, don't be texting me, don't be coming over here trying to holler at me, bro.
Don't, bro. Man. Like, keep. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. So usually I like to just, you know, learn things at my own pace. But I'm the type of person that, you know, I'm very scatterbrained at times, so it can take me a while to learn things. You know, whereas like, say for instance, like with this podcast and shit, like the way that like I be teaching, like one of my good friends, he was my coach in high school. I helped him launch his podcast. I went over there one night. I went over there, had him as a guest on And Friends. Very popular episode. Might put the link up for it. I don't know. I won't. Actually, I'm not going to do that. He has his own podcast now. It's very funny. For a period of time, he made me want to stop doing what I'm doing because he was just killing it. Yeah. It's called The Greater Good with AJ.
Nice.
Alvis Scales. I don't know his real name. I'm still calling him Coach after all these years.
What up, Coach?
I'm still calling him Coach. And what's crazy is that, and see, in this situation, he's only like 33, 34.
So, see, he's not far. See,
right.
Having those type of guys ain't far, bro.
I mean, to me though, he feels more like my homie.
More of a brother.
Yeah, and he acts like one of my brothers. So you know, we're real comfortable with each other and we're cool.
Right.
So yeah, you guys definitely check out that podcast.
Thanks for the support, Dick.
You know, I showed him in like 2 nights. Like, hey, this is what you do. Boom, 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 boom. I put the software on his computer. I showed him exactly, you know, what to, you know, hit this button, and then, you know, a couple times he called me and was like, you know, hey, how do I do X, Y, and Z? But I haven't heard from him since. So I'm like, okay,
he's on his own. He's doing well.
You know,
he's managed.
Yeah, you figuring it out. Yeah. You know, and you doing it. You know, because it's not that hard.
No.
But me though, it took me a very long because I didn't have nobody like, you know, hey, no, fuck all that, do X, Y, and Z. Right. So you know, it's helpful to have somebody tell you those things, but I just hate when people try to take advantage of the situation, and that just brings me back to the mentality of the individuals that I deal with on a regular basis in Charlotte. It's like, you know, every opportunity they can take to get over or, you know, have, you know, a position, an advantageous position over
Right.
me, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that. I don't like feeling,
Like you're behind.
not like I'm behind, but like I'm under you. Like
Then you're really not fit for corporate world,
I'm really not, and I don't want to be in the corporate world.
Mm-mm.
I don't want to be.
Because if it like same thing like in military, like a lot of people like I don't want somebody telling me what to do, and it's like this is just basic training. Like this is what you have to do in order to get inside the military. Like
Exactly.
you have to
Like niggas ain't
follow
even,
orders. People are like nah, and plus I don't want to be yelled at, and it's like you know what? It's only gonna last for like eight weeks, maybe 9 weeks. Sometimes depending on what branch you go, it's longer. 13 weeks, but
the thing, it only lasts that long because you're so broken down by the time. Like
And-
you are thoroughly conditioned.
exactly, and depending on your situation, especially your financial situation, because that's why a lot of people join the military is because they don't have anything.
It helps.
And this is like the last straw. Like I have nothing. Like if I get kicked out of the military, I go back home to nothing.
My mechanic, he was in the military before he really took the car, the auto mechanic stuff
Mhm.
serious. He's a master mechanic now, works on nothing but like Maseratis and BMWs, whatever have you.
Right.
But he was in the military, and I never could understand why, because he's not the type of person who you would think would have gone into the military.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he realized that, and he was telling me, he said that he wanted out, and he said that he went into his commanding officer's office
Mm-hmm.
and took a huge shit in his chair. And then he said he sat on the other side and lit up a blunt and just waited for him to come back.
Oh wow.
Right. So they went through about two or three blunts. Said the room was very foul, and his commanding officer came through and was just like, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" He was like, he was home, like a day later, back at home, hanging out.
See, but there's ways. All right, so there's ways. Obviously, he must have been enlisted, and when you're enlisted, you have a contract. So he obviously didn't want to wait till that contract ended.
Hell no.
He was pretty much over it.
Right.
But I'm trying to think of a good way to get out of your contract where you would still get an honorable discharge. But he did not get an honorable discharge, just from what you just told me.
Oh no, he definitely got a dishonorable discharge.
Definitely.
Which
That affects you when
it
you're trying
affects. Yeah.
when you try to get a job. So that's why I'm saying, if it's because usually your enlistment is max 6 years.
Yeah.
So if it was, if it was this first year, you only have 5 years to go, and 5 years goes like that. Like I remember my first 6 years went like that. You know what I'm saying? So he could have waited it out. That wasn't a smart decision on his stance. I understand you're frustrated, you want to get out, but bro, it's gonna help you in the long run if you just get out and just be known as a veteran without the dishonorable.
Right. Here's the thing though. He's white. So he didn't care about none of that. He didn't care.
Okay.
And from what I can tell, no one else has cared since.
Oh, so he does have a pretty nice job then.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh man.
He never didn't have. Well, like there was a period of time after that where he was unemployed, and I think that's when he decided, like, you know what, because he was still living in Charleston, like where my family's from.
Okay.
He was still living in Charleston, or I won't say where my family's from, where my family was living at the time.
Right.
He's a friend of the family, and so he decided to move from South Carolina to North Carolina.
Okay.
And yeah, with his certifications, it didn't take him very long, to get work.
So his job must have been something that is needed. That's at high demand. So
Well, I mean, he's a mechanic.
being a mechanic.
Yeah.
Depending on what type of mechanic it is, obviously it must be just vehicles, just regular vehicles. Is it like
stuff outside of that, but his day job would be
Just
regular
mechanic.
regular vehicles. But he can definitely get up underneath a boat.
he must be a really good troop then,
I would say so.
or he must be a really good mechanic.
That's
just in
what. That's
general.
more so. I think that's what it is. I think
Okay.
he's just very good at what he does.
Yeah.
Um,
So in that sense, then people look past that. He
That's-
pretty much during the interview, it's like, I see you got a dishonorable discharge or something like that, or
Well, so here's the thing about that too.
he
Is
might
that
not even speak about it.
exactly niggas don't really be checking for shit like that.
They just
Not
be like,
really.
"Oh, we see you serve.
Right.
Thank you for serving."
I mean, you working like engineering and shit like that, and that's kind of
Right.
hard. So people probably wanted to test your level of engineering and stuff like that.
That's
See,
all they really cared about.
right.
I mean, I took a test. Every engineering job that I attained, I always took a test.
You take a test.
Always took an like a SolidWorks test.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because that's all they care about. They don't care about you. You could be a rapist, a murderer. You know what I'm saying? You could have 10 kids at your house right now, but niggas need to get that work done.
Right.
They need someone who gonna show up and someone who know what they doing.
Ooh, I got to segue to that too.
You know what I'm saying? Segue to what?
To employment and things that you've done in the past and how it affects you getting a job in the future.
Oh yeah, I mean I myself have dealt with that for a very long time.
Gosh.
I dealt with that I'm still dealing with it actually. I've got
That mug is real.
I've got a couple of things, lingering on, out there. So as soon as people start talking about background checks, it's like, what you doing, man? Why you gotta look back there?
Hey man, I'm right here, man.
Yeah, I'm right
Like,
here. I'm right here.
The background is all.
Yeah,
all
that's
back
in the
here.
past.
This is the background.
Yeah,
right here.
you talking about the past, man. Like, I'm talking about this money. You talking about the past.
All right.
So, why do you have some things?
I mean, other than because it's been in the news lately, and a lot of people have different views, but I mean, it pertains to sports. Just as far as Kaepernick's situation, I mean, still doesn't have a job, and then we already started preseason, and people are still complaining, talking about, he's this, he's that. It's, I mean, and me and my homeboy, we were
hold on.
Okay.
Let's say if you're gonna go, because Kaepernick's on, our accompanying segment.
He is?
Yeah, Kaepernick's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna get on Kaepernick specifically.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, yeah,
All right,
we're
we'll
gonna
touch
get
that
on
later.
Kaepernick specifically on our brand new segment.
Hey.
On our brand new segment after the verdict.
All right, so we won't touch that. But either way, there's certain situations where an employer does look at your
This is true.
past, and they do want to ask questions. That's the purpose of the interview. They ask certain questions, personal questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And
Oh
it's-
my God.
that question kills me. It's
Yeah.
like, bro, I don't. And
Not
you
he-
want to be
not
honest.
here.
Exactly. You don't want to be honest, because if you're honest, it's like, oh well, you're not for our, you're not for this company,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They want to see someone who's dedicated, who wants to work for that company. And not a lot of people want to truly work for that company.
Right.
They just need a job.
Right.
They just want to be put in a better situation than they are right now.
Right. And I don't think that these companies actually want someone who wants to work there. What they want is the same thing that everybody wants, and that's to be lied to. They want to hear what they want to hear, and they want it to
The
sound
warm and
good.
fuzzies. They want the warm and fuzzies.
They want the warm and fuzzies. They want you to lie to them,
Of course.
And that's what I tell people all the time about how to get jobs, how to get interviews. Lie, 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 lie. I once told a person that, I was regional manager for this company I was working for, and that I had so many employees up on it. I basically just told them what my boss did.
That's good.
Yeah, I described all the duties that my boss did, and I knew that my boss was doing them because I watched him do it. So,
So technically, you actually know how to do that because you saw your boss do that. So
Hey.
technically, you're not really lying.
well, it's all in how you word it. You know what I'm saying? I told him I had experience with X, Y, and Z because I
Okay.
do.
Right.
I mean, I did blatantly lie with my title, but as far as my experiences, I like to dance around and say, yeah, I've got experience doing this and I've done this before, so
Right.
forth and so on. But
Right.
when I see people who can't get jobs and they don't have, anything holding them back, I automatically think you're not lying enough on your resume. You're not lying enough, or you're lying too much. But you gotta adjust your lying levels.
Right. You have to stretch the truth, and
You have to.
You have to. And I mean, it's a sad way to think about it, but I mean, that's what makes you competitive. You have to state certain highlights within your job. That doesn't necessarily mean that you did them, but you had some type of part within that particular action or that particular skill set. Like you you were involved, but you weren't as in-depthly involved, as, your employer, your former employer, things of that nature. So
Right.
I completely agree with that.
Right.
I completely agree. To me, that's not really lying. It's more just stretching the truth.
Right.
And just pretty much just touching the surface, pretty much just touch and go.
Right, because if you leave it up to these employers, they'll be like, okay, well, we want somebody. First of all, when I'm looking for jobs, they're like, look, we want somebody with a 10-year degree. We also want somebody with 20 years experience.
How?
But we want somebody
Sway?
under the age of 25.
Yeah.
And we're only gonna pay you $9 an hour. That's the start. I'm like, yo, what's happening, man? Like,
Getting raped.
yeah, y'all could really take $9, take $10, and shove it up your ass for real. Like, that's not no money. Like, I mean, how? I've always wondered how these people, who are, in charge of foreign, how this woman or man is feeding their whole family of 3-4 people, and they're making $10.50.
Man, that pension. You ever did like couponing? You ever done that? Like,
Yeah. We coupon.
There you go. I mean, so coupons, people, I don't know why people look down upon, coupons. Coupons is actually saving you money. It's like free money there.
Yeah, these are discounts.
These are discounts. And people are like, I don't want to do. I'm too good. Like, no one's too good for coupons. That's number one.
No one's too good for this. Like, niggas saying stupid shit like that. Like,
Golly.
that's why you broke. That's why you get paid and you be broke a day later, because you don't know how to manage your money. Like, and then places like Harris Teeter and Food Lion, they be doing ignorant shit like double and triple coupons.
Right.
Like, I'm talking about I used to work at Harris Teeter, and they'll send a little newsletter home like, hey, today's the day, triple coupon. So if you bring your coupon in, you're gonna get triple the value. I'm talking about niggas used to come in there with 4 buggies full of groceries, and a book full of coupons, and then spend like $12.
There you go. And so what if it's not the same soap detergent that, or soap that you use for your clothes for your dishes? Like, it's all the same thing.
A lot of times it's the same.
The cereal is the same. Like, I really had to get past that in college, because like I was looking like at like, say for instance, like Captain Crunch, like Berry Crunch or something like that. You could see the same thing, but it would have a dinosaur and it would be in a bigger bag.
That's not the same thing, though.
Why is it not?
That's definitely not the same.
Whoa, why is it not?
I mean, cereal is cereal for sure. I've ate the cereal you talking about.
Why?
But
how is it not the same thing?
It's not the same thing as Captain Crunch.
What's the difference?
Captain Crunch is delicious.
What? That thing is delicious.
That shit is serviceable.
Man, it is. That is
serviceable.
Man, that is the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
It
You
is.
talking about King Vitamin and shit like that?
Whatever it is,
it's
delicious.
I
don't care.
Circus Cabane and shit like that.
Tastes the same to me, and it still cuts
definitely-
the top of your mouth.
No,
Like-
and that generic cereal. It's cutting the roof of your mouth on sight. At least Captain
man.
Crunch, you got to eat it first. But this other
Still gonna
generic
cut the
stuff,
roof of your mouth, though.
it's cutting the roof of your mouth on sight.
Oh man, college days, boy.
I don't
Golly.
listen.
But yeah, back to your point though about these jobs. I know you heard of the term "fake it till you make it," right?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that term before.
Yeah, so pretty much, say if you do get the job and you're like, man, I have little to no experience, I am probably one of the least qualified, candidates that they just picked up. So pretty much you do anything and everything to act like you know what you're doing. And then eventually you do make it and you actually do know what you're doing. So faking it till you make it. I know some people told me, nah, you shouldn't do that. You should, go in and, try to get a job that you can get. And it's like, not all the time, because, we have a president who has zero experience in politics.
Yeah, but look at what the job he's doing, though.
The
It's
job?
terrible.
Man.
Terrible. It's the worst president,
He's
in recorded history.
Yeah, and he's done some wild stuff. What kills me is just the internet, just in general, what he's done as far as like Twitter. It's like, man, get off Twitter, bro.
Get the fuck off of Twitter.
Get off Twitter, man. Like,
How do you got the time to be on Twitter?
I don't know.
Like, I don't have the time to be on Twitter that much. Like, how do you have the time to run the country and be on Twitter?
I don't know, man. And you know, just with the whole Korea joint, Korea's been threatening since Kim Jong Un's, how do you say his name? Kim's father been in. And once he died, I mean, Kim joined, and he became the president of Korea, North Korea, and he's like 33, I want to say, right now. So I mean, he started off very young. He became president when he was in his 20s after his father died.
He's only 33.
He's only like 30 something, bro, low 30s.
And them niggas be living forever.
Right.
Forever.
Right.
90 years of tyranny.
So for him to boast like, hey, we're gonna attack Guam, and this, you have a president who's very, very like knee jerkish, very reactive, saying that, bro, you better not step that line because about to see a world of pain that the world's never even seen before. And it's like, why are you promising that like on live television? Like, people are gonna record this and hold you accountable to the words that you speak, and if you don't do anything, they're gonna be like, well, he said he was gonna do it, didn't do anything. So it's just crazy. And then
it's very crazy.
I can go on a tangent, but we're gonna need another episode for that one. But yeah, man, I mean, faking it until you make it isn't such a bad thing, and as long as you're willing to put in the work to keep your job, you should be fine. And you do have resources. Your coworkers are always willing to help. So just ask questions. Ask your questions strategically, because you don't want to expose yourself.
Right, you don't. unless you and somebody there are eye to eye.
I'm telling you, exactly.
And, yeah, you do not want to expose yourself, because these people, they will try to get you fired.
Man, I made that mistake in my first job. I just felt like I wasn't doing enough, and I went to boss man, and I was like, am I doing enough? Like, this was before my 90-day review, and I was like, man, looking back at it, I was like, I never should have said anything. And the job that I have now, I know what I'm doing now, because I spent multiple years in it now, and so I know what I'm doing now. Like, there's a question that they can ask me that I won't be able to answer. I'm like, I can answer it any question. I can draw up anything now.
Nice.
So, but that first job was iffy, because I lacked self-confidence as an engineer, because
right.
I was out of college for about a year, so I haven't touched anything engineering. I was working at Hobby Lobby in the back, what I'm saying, cutting boxes, getting ready to put out these seasonals, what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, people was coming to me asking for discounts. I'm like, just download the app. But yeah. But yeah, what I'm saying? Like, there's ways to make it in this world, what I'm saying? Just because you don't have all the experience, or just because you see that they want 10 years and you only have 5 years, doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply for that job.
Apply. Lie and say
Do
you
it,
have
man.
10 years.
Do it, man.
Lie and say. I be telling jobs all the time, I've got 5 years property management experience.
Yeah.
I'm Yardi certified. I'm this certified. I'm that. I don't know what half that shit means.
All right, so certifications, you got to be careful with that, because when you got to show proof and like certification numbers and, licensing numbers and all that stuff, like PE, you can't lie about that stuff. Like professional engineer, you actually have a specific number.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got you though.
Yeah, the stuff you do, man, you can't do a lot. I would, if you're trying to get into some engineering and shit like that,
Do not lie.
I don't recommend lying. People will quickly find out.
Exactly. We found out.
They'll find out immediately.
My former boss, who left back in earlier, I think it was March or sometime. He said he had all this experience in SolidWorks. He said he had 25 years of experience. I didn't get to interview him because I was already gone in Germany. But, once I came back, my coworkers would tell me, hey, this is new. We have a new senior engineer. He has 25 years of experience. And I was like, all right, cool. And he struggled. He struggled to draw. Like, he struggled to draw on SolidWorks. And I was like, bro, where's this 25 years of experience?
25 years of experience.
Lies,
that
man.
Nigga got 25 years of lying.
Exactly. So, I mean, bro.
Hey, but, I'm not knocking him, because in a few years, that's going to be me. I'm going to be telling people, I got 10 years experience running the country.
Right.
Like, let me run it. Like, I got, so it is what it is. If I could get, on the ending note, if I could give one piece of advice, it's just to sell yourself.
Right.
Like, literally, sell yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like how, them them streetwalkers be out there on the Ave every night selling themselves, putting their best foot forward.
Grind, man.
You got to do the same thing. Sell yourself, your strengths. Know
your weaknesses.
Know your weaknesses and avoid exposing them.
Right.
And know your strengths and just push them up. Talk them up as often as you can, and just anytime people ask you about your weakness, use it as an opportunity to highlight one of your strengths.
Right.
That's what I do. When people say, "What's one of your biggest weaknesses?" I'm like, I'm too ambitious. I'm just too ambitious,
right?
Dog. Like I just want to be the best all the time.
Exactly.
So and people, they love hearing shit like that.
Exactly. I know one for me was I remember a guy asked me what my weakness was, and I just told him, I was like, well, whenever there's a job that I'm doing, I want it to be perfect. So I spend too much time trying to perfect everything and trying to make sure everything is perfect. So I'm a perfectionist. So I want to make sure. And they were like, "Oh, that's great. We love that you have attention to detail." And all that. And I was like, "Yeah, I just take too much time trying to, perfect it because I want everything to be perfect. I can multitask, but at the end of the day, I'm constantly, putting too much effort into one area, and not a lot of attention is needed in that one specific detail, or it needs to where that effort needs to be, put somewhere else. So things like that, yeah,
definitely,
that's smart. And another thing, like we said earlier, have confidence. You know what I'm saying? And
confidence is key.
Yeah, confidence is key because again, you miss every shot that you don't take. So if you're looking at these jobs and these qualifications and you're looking at the the minimum requirements and you feel that you don't meet those, you're gonna miss every shot that you don't take, because if you don't shoot, you're gonna miss every time. So definitely take that shot. You never know, you might get a call back, you might not, but just keep shooting. Get on Indeed.com, keep shooting. Get on Monster.com, shoot at every job that whatever you put in that keyword box. Apply for everything,
and don't stop applying just because you got a job.
Yeah.
Take a job that's gonna pay you and that'll work, but still keep looking,
right?
Because you might, now you're comfortable. You don't have to find something, but if something comes across, your radar, you jump on it, take it. If it's a better opportunity,
right?
All right, so, yeah, man. For these tips and more on how to finesse through life, man, you got to follow us on the gram at Verdict Podcast, Twitter Verdict Podcast, Facebook Verdict Podcast, SoundCloud Verdict Podcast. What about you? What's your handles?
So I am Wes Taylor on Twitter, Instagram, and on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/I am Wes Taylor. That's where you can find me.
Find us, man. You can also find me on Twitter at House of Splash. Depending on where you live, we're going to come see you real soon. We're going to have a shindig in your backyard. You'll be able to meet us. You'll be able to hang out with us. We're going to have, a couple. I want to do a Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, Charlotte, and then maybe like a Charleston/Atlanta type of thing. But, it all just depends on how it pans out. So I'm looking for event planners. I'm looking for tastemakers and entrepreneurs in those regions to partner with. And, let's do something fun that, the kids is going to love when they hear and jump up and sing.
Exactly, man.
Damn. We're at almost an hour already. That was quick.
That was quick, but I think we'll be able to.
Yeah. I'll chop it down, and I specifically, kept it brief because there's a lot. We're gonna cover a lot more information. So if you're listening to this, take you a break, cush break or food break, sleep break, whatever you want to do, and then by the time you're ready to see or hear from us again, I have more content for you on YouTube and Roku. So other than that,
we out.
We out.